everybody, how's it going? So I'm gonna be doing today a video I haven't done in a long time. We picked a lot of Chaga from our cottage before we moved 2 years ago. So today, and we're at a Chaga tea. So today I'm going Chaga hunting, and I just want to show you guys just a quick what I do for prep. The area I'm going is kind of wet. I use two types of knives here. This one's a Fisher's knife, and it's got a nice curve on it. So, and I made this hole which the knife fits into, so I can reach up, get those high chunks. So this is use, and I also have just a small axe for the lower, if the chunk is lower on the tree. The area where I'm going, I spec'd there was a chunk root height, so. And of course I've got my COVID-19 pack that I'm taking with me just in case I need to stop somewhere. So we're all moved into the house. We've been here for about a month. Sorry I haven't made any videos. I've just been so busy with the move and unpacking everything, but I got a bunch of things coming. I've been doing a lot of builds with garbage, just stuff that was gone in the garbage, and I've been reusing that stuff. So that'll probably be something I'll be putting on next week or two. All right, I'm at my Chaga picking spot, and I don't know if you guys can see that. The black flies are crazy. So I'm using a little trick. Black flies tend to be attracted by vehicle exhaust. So when you're about to go in the woods, it's always a good idea to shut your vehicle down and stay in your vehicle for a couple minutes, 5 minutes maybe, before you go out. That way there, it just gives them time to disperse. So trying that. I don't have a bug net today, just using my trusty hat here. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have issue with bugs. So the reason I hunt Chaga at this spot is because there are several little brooks here, and so a really good spot to look for Chaga is always by the sides of a brook. If you have a lot of deciduous trees in an area like maples, beech, things like that, there's a good chance that there'll be some yellow birch in there or some white birch. And the reason it's always good by brooks is because Chaga spreads through the air. It's a spore, and when you're thinking of a forest, air, like wind currents, don't really travel through a forest really well because it's a dense forest. But where there's a brook, there's usually an easier path for air currents to travel. So you tend to find a higher percentage of Chaga by brooks or a river or a lake. Around the perimeter of a lake sometimes as well is a good spot. This area here of Nova Scotia has quite a few Chaga. I've even found, I have a video on my YouTube channel where I found Chaga on a maple tree. So in this area here by the brook, there's maybe in a couple acres, there was 3 large chunks of Chaga. So this was a large chunk of Chaga that I picked several years ago. You can see what I did is I left, this is actually about 1/3. There was 2/3 sticking out here. I left that in there. I left this in there. I think it was 3 years ago. And it's regrown, so. Oh, the flies are bad. Nasty.
They are nasty.
So I'm here with my good buddy, Harry.
Who's that?
Harry, happy Harry. So this one is at, you know, chest level, I guess, so I'll just use the axe to chop this out. And you can see, nice orangey color. And I just put it in this bag. And we're keeping our social distance.
Yes.
Gary came with his own vehicle. So what I'm just gonna do here is I'm gonna chop. Hammering on the knife with the axe. There we go. And this is beautiful Chaga. Good stuff here, this black stuff. There we go. So the tree where I was is just back of Harry, maybe 20-30 feet that way. And then right down here, it's kind of a unique place for Chaga. This one's right in the root of the yellow birch, right by this brook. And right on the back side of this tree here, there was a big chunk that I collected. You could kind of see it protruding there to the side. I plan to do some volunteering at the clinic that deals with people with MCS. So, as an MCS survivor, I'd like to give them some tips, natural tips. So, I want to get lots of Chaga for that. There's a nice piece. Nice big piece of Chaga. See that? The flies are really bad. Sorry for the squinting.
How much will that harvest you?
That'll give me enough Chaga for just myself for about 2 to 3 years.
Just that there?
If that was just for me, 2 to 3 years for sure.
Well,
But because I'm going to be giving some away, probably a year or two. Another nice chunk. Yeah.
you're not taking any more of that?
Well, that's that'll regrow. I mean, that's a young tree. So you'll understand there are a few purposes to this thing.
Your boots should be high enough for that.
All right. So I got a picture of that chunk. It grew back really nicely. I'll put it in the video. That'll be a future grab. So just show you guys how plentiful Chaga is in this area. I'm just across the road from where I picked the other stuff, and you can see a chunk there. And then just over across through the trees there, I don't know if you guys can see, right there's a chunk, And then just up the tree there's a chunk. But that one's pretty high. I have to access it with a ladder, so that's to be continued. All right, I'm back at the house. Got my little hoard of Chaga here. So I want to speak a little bit about this stuff. Show you guys what my harvest looked like. So this is that big chunk that was on that root of that tree. So there's one. I'll put it in this pan so you can see how much I harvested. This was off the other tree that I let grow. So this is harvest number 2 off that tree, I guess. More off that tree. And I'm gonna wash this Chaga. Show you guys how I do that. Alright, so the only thing you gotta clean with the Chaga is I find that, you know, you can get some spider webs in there and stuff, so I just try to wash it a little bit before I grind it up. So wash the spider webs and anything that's sometimes there could be some bugs in there. You know, you're pulling something off a tree, right? So so I give it a good scrub and make sure there's nothing in there. Pick off anything loose. And what I do is I fresh grind the Chaga and then I freeze them. So when we moved into the new house, we got a brand new deep freeze. So I got lots of room now for storing some of this stuff. So that's why I didn't really care if I had maybe too much to consume for right now, because it'll store well. I just store it in mason jars and in the freezer, and that's it. Pretty simple. So just wash all the dirt away, all the loose and then you're boiling it anyways, so you don't have to worry that, you know, there could be some little critters on the surface. Just extra protein if you missed them. They're gonna be boiled up anyways. So. Well, it's kind of neat. I never got to see what the second harvest looks like. So when I chopped it off last time, I had this on the surface, and then the Chaga regrew the dark outer surface. So it's pretty cool. Alright, so got the Chaga cleaned up, sitting in the pan. It's gonna dry a little bit, just surface dry. Alright, so I got my trusty, this is a knife that I redid. I just redid the handle with a piece of cherry burl. And I like it because it has a nice wide space here. And I have a hammer that I use to chop the Chaga. Here I got a grinder. This is just a blackened KitchenAid, I guess, coffee grinder. And what's important is that you get one with stainless steel bowl, because the Chaga is hard, and then when you swirls around it, if this was just plastic like this, it would break. So on this one, what's good is this is all metal, and then only the top piece here gets exposed to the Chaga bits as they're fumbling around in there. So what I like to do is I like to cut off the bark here, of course. You don't want to eat the bark. That's just like paper, right? So I like to cut that off, and then some of this bark. This is actually just birch bark, so you don't need to keep that. Then when you see the color start changing, then that's Chaga, actual Chaga. So then I just take my knife and the hammer and I just break it in pieces. About it's that 1/2 inch maybe. Right, so, and I'm doing this outside today. So my wife is so happy I'm doing this outside, because usually I do this in the winter and it's got to be done inside because it's cold out. But it's pretty messy, and this stuff is, it's like coffee when you grind it up. It looks like coffee grinds. So imagine having this powder everywhere in your house as you're grinding it. So outside here I can make a mess and then just hose it down. So what I'm doing is I'm breaking these up in small chunks, and it's just got to be big enough for the grinder to chop it up. So and when Chaga is fresh like this stuff is, you can actually cut it fairly easily. But if you leave this dry, like some people will tell you to dry this stuff, I've been doing it this way for years with the frozen fresh Chaga, so I think it gives me better quality of Chaga by freezing it fresh. When you dry it, you're basically killing some of the vitamin or compounds that are in it, I guess. But when you grind it fresh, it tends to taste better than dry ground Chaga. So the taste difference would be kind of a nutty taste, mushroomy flavor versus like a very bitter, I guess, flavor if you dry it. And then you grind it, you get a nice, so it's very powdery. Okay, this is kind of a, I guess, it's sort of a damp mixture, which is why you want to freeze it, because it will mold, I guess, if you leave it out damp like this. So, but if you freeze it like this, then you basically have a nice nice fresh Chaga all the time. So that's it. That's one mason jar. This would be, I guess, a cup. And then just repeat many times. So, alright, so got let's see, 10 jars, 10 small jars. One of these guys, And then I think it's 2 of these. So this was 2.5 hours of grinding. Quite a bit of work to do this, you know. Prepare it this way anyways. And as you can see, I still have about half the Chaga left, so it does make quite a bit, because when you grind it up, there's just a lot of air space in there. So I'm going to take you guys inside and show you guys how to make Chaga tea. Alright, so now for making tea. So I've got my freshly ground Chaga here, fresh from the freezer. So I ground this last night, so just to show you guys how I make my tea. I usually use a fairly large pot. And then what I do is you tell there's some Chaga grinds in there. I just leave the grinds in for about a month at a time, and the old grinds just end up releasing every time I boil it some nutrients. So, and then, but if I was starting this from scratch, which I'll show you guys how I do it, some fresh water. So the first batch, you're going to add 2 heaping tablespoons to the Chaga. 1, 2, and then I'm going to boil this. Now for, turn on the fan, make sure you turn on your fan on your over your stove. But I'm going to boil this for 15 minutes. Bring it to boil, and then 15 minutes time your boil. And what will happen is the Chaga grinds will just mix in with the water, and it'll turn into Chaga tea. And then what you want to do is turn your burner off and let the grinds settle. And that takes usually another 15 minutes. And then the next time you want to drink your Chaga, so this is my morning Chaga. This evening, what I'll do is I'll boil this again, and then I'll just bring it to boil and then shut it off. It doesn't need to boil for any longer. So you boil it for 15 minutes only when you add fresh Chaga, and then I'll add water to it one more time. So usually, so tonight, like this pot will be good for tonight and probably tomorrow morning before I add water, and then I'll add water. So every like 3 days, I guess, you can add fresh Chaga. When you add fresh Chaga, then you add 1 tablespoon of fresh Chaga the next time, because you're only putting half as much water in, right? So you add water. When you get down to the grinds and you're scooping and you're having a hard time to get some tea out without getting the grinds, then you just add some water, boil it, and then the second time you add water, add a tablespoon of this stuff. And then you can leave the old Chaga grinds in there, like I said, for a month, sometimes 2 months. I usually just judge by, there's too much in the bottom to scoop efficiently. So, and then I'll usually put the old grinds in my compost in the garden. So. It's been boiling for 15 minutes. Turn it off, let it sit. Alright, so I've let the Chaga tea settled, and now I'm going to scoop it out and show you guys how I prepare it. So, I like to put a little bit of maple syrup in my Chaga tea. makes it taste like maple water or sap. So I just put just a little bit of syrup in there, not a lot. So if you get dry Chaga from the store, this will help with the that. There's a little. It can be a little bitter if it's dried. The stuff I use, of course, is fresh, so it's just delicious. And this is what it looks like. You scoop it out. Get a bit of a brown